This is Omar Ahmed for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. It's the morning after, or the afternoon after now. I'm joined by trainer Dominic Ingle, of course, your former fighter. Billy Joe Saunders looked to shock the world last night, came unstuck. Let's just talk about the ending first, Dom. As a trainer, Mark Tibbs made the right decision, yes or no?
Yep, 100%.
Obviously, Billy had I think fair to say, a flat start in there, but really got into his own from the fifth onwards. Obviously had that bad eighth round, but fifth, sixth, seventh, Billy looked like he was getting into his own. How did you read it, Dom?
Yeah, I mean, people say he had a slow start, but to be honest, I thought he boxed well from round one. He just waited to see what Canelo had got. Tried a few things out. His footwork was great. He had all the right moves, and then he started to warm into it. And that's at that point, he was catching Canelo with shots. The jab, his confidence came in there, and it was when he obviously got caught with that shot where it turned everything around. I don't think he could have done it any other way, to be honest.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Would you have said to Billy about doing anything different, perhaps, in that fight?
No, I wouldn't do anything different because, look, like I said before in a lot of interviews, that Billy fights a certain way. Look at the performance he had with me, Ben Davis, and whatever. He's always fought the same way. All right, people talk about the Lemieux fight. His footwork was great. He never got hit. Other fights, Martin Murray wasn't a great fight, but Billy's always got that in him to box like Lemieux, like he did against Canelo. Get out of the way, use his elusiveness, jab, move, footwork. But it's how to execute it. He's got to have the fitness, the strength to execute it. And for me, well, he was up against it before he went in against that fight. You're not just fighting Canelo, you're fighting the system, you're fighting everybody. It's all geared up. He's the cash cow. He's got to win the fight. And I don't think the judging was probably, I think it was a lot closer than they had it. I think the American commentator at one point had Billy up to, and Cole Fletcher had Billy down to. But the shot that Canelo was trying all night long was that right uppercut, because Billy does dip, and it is the shot, if he can execute it properly, to catch a southpaw with dips like that. He had the left hook to the body, the right uppercut, and every now and again a jab. He wasn't, they were the shots he were catching Billy with. And what I'd have said, I said to Billy, you're getting caught repeatedly with that uppercut, and eventually it's going to cause some damage. A bit like Liam Williams against Andrade. It was this, I said to Liam, we practiced how to block that shot. Why didn't you? He goes, it was far easier to take it than to block it. That's what he said. But Liam Williams, his chin stood up to that, and the power. And with Billy, he dipped onto that shot, and you could tell straight away his legs slowed down in that previous round. The shot obviously hurt him, which is understandable. Canelo is a massive puncher. And Billy dipped down onto the shot. And you never know until you've been hit hard and your face is fractured. I've had it twice with Kell Brook. And, it doesn't happen a lot in fights, but when it does happen, you have to be very wary, because luckily Kell Brook went through 2 surgeries and carried on boxing, and he's still boxing. Anthony Ogogo, it happened to him, and he carried on far too long, and the damage finished his career. So, you've got to look where Billy Joe Saunders is. Do you want to be walking, and his eyesight's bad, Anthony Gogo as well. Do you want to be in that position? I know people talk about quitting, but whatever it was, for me, it was the right decision. And until somebody like Canelo or Golovkin gets that same injury, and it can happen in fights, then they're not really in a place to say, are they, really? It's not like he just quit, oh, I've got my eye cut, I've quit. No, he's actually, from what I'm reading, his face is fractured. And that's the point. I think you need to stop. Look at Eubanks against who was the guy when he had he was miles behind on points, and he had a big massive lump on his head. He was never going to win the fight, and but the thing is, we fighters, they don't want to be pulled out of fights, and look where that resulted. You've got to think, you've got to weigh up the options and think. Billy wasn't winning the fight, well, not on the judges' cards. What's the point of going out with one eye and getting flattened just for the satisfaction of the, fans? Yeah, of course they do. I know fans want to see it, but Billy's got to think about what's right for him, and his trainer's got to think about what's right for him. You know what I mean? So for me, I'd have done the same thing. I'd have pulled him out.
Do you think people's attitudes I'm talking about fans as well, and ex-fighters, media, everyone involved needs to change, because what do people want to see him go blind or lose his career over that?
I don't think, you know what? It's like you watched interviews with Billy, and when he says, I don't give a shit, he don't give a shit, because at the end of the day, it's him taking the punches. And I've had, I've been out this morning, I've been to a gym to train, and I've had everybody come and talking to me. What do you think about this? And what do you think about that? Look, how much did he get? 6-8 million quid, was it? Something like that?
I think in excess of that, from what I heard, but yeah.
Sorry?
I think in excess of that, from what I heard, dollars.
Good, fantastic, fantastic. But the thing for me is, when the hype around Canelo is actually more, people are going to slag me for this, he's bigger than his ability. Look, Billy at times made him look ordinary. Do you know what I mean? He made him miss with shots. He countered him. He wasn't in awe at all, Billy. He wasn't in awe. I think, but the realization hit him when he got caught with that shot. And, if he hasn't fractured his face, I think Billy would have carried on, and moved around. And I don't think he would have won on points because they want to give it him. So it's frustrating for somebody like me when a fighter like Billy Joe Saunders, the fighters like Billy Joe Saunders and Andrade, or the fighters who can beat Canelo, if they can keep the confidence and not get hit with them type of shots. I know it's the winner at the end of the day is the one who wins and stops him in his tracks. That's what he did with Billy. But you've got to be able to execute the game plan like Floyd Mayweather. That's what you've got to be able to do, where you're not getting them shots full on. And I just think if there's only one criticism, and it's difficult to do when you're in a big fight like that from in the corner team, because I've been in that position myself, is when you see your fighter repeatedly getting hit with the same shot, sooner or later that's going to cause a problem. Do you know what I mean? And if I could have said any advice, the thing was to avoid that uppercut, but it's difficult to avoid because Billy likes to dip that way, and usually the hooks go over his head or he slips the jab. But obviously, Canelo's team had worked on that, and he didn't always pay off. They were missing more with that uppercut than they were connecting, but they only needed to connect a couple of times to get the result that they wanted, and he caught him with that shot. So that's the risk you take. He could have gone on all night, and he might not have ever hit Billy with that shot. But the chances are he would have probably hit him with that shot at some point.
Obviously, the main concern is Billy's health, and if he makes a full recovery, to see him back in the ring one day, hopefully. Just putting it out there, Don, give me some names that you'd like to see Billy in there with if he does come back.
Yeah, for me, I think he's more effective at middleweight. I know Canelo's been up and down the weights and everything else, but for me, I just think Billy's a better fighter at middleweight. And look, there's fights still out there for him. It just depends what he wants to do. It just depends what he wants to do. I don't know. I can't really suggest, but there are fights there from the Charlos and all those kids in between. There's plenty of fights for him if he wants to do it, but it is a hard task for Billy. He's not. If you compare Canelo to Billy, the consistency and the continuity that Canelo's had, Billy's had none of that, whether it's his own fault or not. And like I say, he's still putting a decent performance for me, and he could see moments in that fight if he could have maintained what he was doing when he was catching Canelo and not getting hit. If he could have done that for 12 rounds, he could have beat him. Whether he got it on the cards or not's another thing. But yeah, the thing is, Billy is a skillful fighter, and he has got it to do. He can do it. He can do it. But I don't think his consistency over the couple of years has been fantastic. Whether that's down to not getting the fights, changing promoters, changing trainers, whatever it is, he just does frustrate me when somebody like him can beat, the fighters like Canelo, because at the end of the day, Umar, did Canelo beat Billy on skill, or did he beat him on brute force? He beat him on brute force. That's what it was. He just threw himself into it. And he knew when he'd hurt Billy. He knew, you can tell as a fighter. And he started raising his hands. He knew he'd got Billy. He caught him with a shot. But like I say, I think Billy had to sit down and think to himself, yeah, this hasn't happened to me before. And when your eye socket's gone. I've had, two people in my gym over the years who've had their eye socket gone. And it's the same thing. So, 100% the right decision. People are calling a quitter, they call him this, that, and other. It doesn't matter. What matters is that he can see out of both eyes, and he can continue box if he wants to, instead of finishing his career and be partially blind.
Well said, Dom. Just before we close off, do you want to quickly ask you about Liam and Willie? Are they on their road to recoveries, Dom?
Yeah, I mean, Liam Williams has having a bit of time out. His partner's having a kid end of May, so he's taking a bit of time out, but he's back in the gym running. he's going to keep on it, and hopefully he's going to be back out in the autumn. Willie Hutchinson, obviously a bit of an upset there. There are reasons, but we're not going to that in a minute. The point now is to get him back on track. He's back in the gym. He came out to Miami with me, did a great job in the corner with Liam Williams, did training, just took his mind off things. He's only young, he'll come again. And for me, you make the mistakes early in your career and then rectify them for later on. So, he's got a few more fights lined up. He's back out sometime in June, I believe. So we're working towards that. And we'll have to just see where it goes with him. But he's only a young kid. And, sometimes mistakes are made. And it's about rectifying them and building on that and moving forward.
Okay, well, Don, appreciate your time on IFL TV this Sunday. And I'll see you probably in June when Willie's back in the ring.
No problem, mate. See you later. Thanks.